Oh, hello. I'm so excited to be back with you guys and share one of my dear friends, soul allies, Ashley. Ashley, I would love for you to explain what you're all about and what you do. Welcome to All Within.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. I am excited to be able to just talk about healing and talk about my journey and share some of the things that helped me along the way. My name is Ashley Nicole. I am a creativity coach. I work with gene keys, human design, astrology. I'm the founder of Unlock Your Design, and I work with the archetypes that are inside each of us. So I do a lot of fun archetypal play, inner child work, and just really lighthearted and playful approach to doing life, doing business, doing everything.
That sounds so fun. How did you first stumble upon this work? I don't know if it was astrology that you got into first or gene keys. And we do maybe have to explain if somebody's like, okay, I understand astrology, but what the heck is the gene keys?
Yeah. So the way in which these systems found me was during a time in my life where I was restless. I felt like I didn't really know myself, and I had gotten married. I had went to college. I had three beautiful little babies, and I just was not feeling fulfilled. I felt there was something more to my life. And I felt a lot of guilt around, why can't you just be happy, Ashley? You're a mom, you're married, you did all the things you were supposed to do, all the shoulds.
Mm.
I did them. And so that kind of led me out onto this journey of figuring out my career, the business. That kind of led me out in the world. Like I want a career. I want a business. I don't want to just be a stay-at-home mom. And I thought I was going to figure out who I was in business. And I started with direct sales companies, Origami Owl, and some other companies. And I ended up starting my own business with a gal that I met from another MLM company. Both of us just newly moms, and we're like,
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah, we just came together with that spark of we want to make a difference in the world. We want to be in business. And so we went on the entrepreneurial journey together. And it was at one of the business workshop meetings that somebody approached me and asked me, hey, can I see your human design and gene key chart? And I'm
You're
like,
like, what is that?
exactly. What
Yeah.
is that thing? Like what gene keys, like DNA, like what are you talking about?
Mhm.
And he showed me the charts, and he does human design readings now too. He didn't before, so it's just cool to see the little fractals that come together
Yeah.
and we're in the same spaces. But he showed me mine, and I just immediately felt I could read it. It felt like a language I had already learned, and I had this really big, this is it, this is what you've been looking for. And I really started to dive deep into that. And these systems are basically built on the foundation of astrology, of the Kabbalah, of a lot of the chakra system. And basically, it takes the date, time, location that you were born, and it pulls up a map. Just like a lot of people have seen their astrology map, odds
Yeah.
are people watching this, they know, oh, I am a Virgo sun, or I am a Libra rising, or because usually there's the big three, the moon, the sun, and your ascendant. And so a lot of people know that. But there's even deeper dynamics and patterns and parts of your chart that make up who you are. Because Virgo is such a big month, and there's actually like 6 micro archetypes within that make up who you are. So, beginning of the month Virgo is not going to be the same as the end of the month Virgo. So,
Mhm.
that system really helped me unpack and understand who I was. And Gene Keys has a beautiful way of articulating the shadow, the gift, and the city, which are frequency bands that help you understand how to approach this work. How do you heal? How do you move out of the shadow into the gift? What is the city? So I like to think of human design as a snapshot of how your energy works, because it definitely looks like chakra systems. So you can see how things are connected, and everybody's chart looks different. And then Gene Keys is like this hero's journey approach where you're uncovering your gifts, you're uncovering how you need to heal through relationships, how your mind works, how your emotion works, and then also prosperity. How do you become prosperous on this material plane? So it's a beautiful system, both of them, human design and Gene Keys. And that's kind of what journey path I decided to go on for healing, because I felt like I didn't know who I was, and that created deep sense of pain and longing and restlessness in me. And once I did that, my whole world became that.
Wow, I love that because I really think our listeners can relate to that time in their life, whether it's happening right now for them or if they look backwards, they can see that moment where it's like, God, there's got to be more to this life. I don't feel content. And it's that longing inside of us that's like, I got to figure this out. So for you, you stumbled on the Gene Keys and the astrology and stuff. I remember stumbling upon the Gene Keys in 2017 and so I was working with a coach that loved the Gene Keys. And I remember ordering the book. And if you guys don't know, for our listeners, the Gene Keys book by Richard Rudd it's pretty meaty. It's a decent sized book. And I remember ordering it and getting it and being like, what now? I don't even know. I saw my profile, I put my birthday and all that information in, but I was really confused. And it took me, I would say, almost a couple years. I think I let it sit on my bookshelf because I think everything meets us when we're ready. But I just let it sit there, Ashley, because I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. So you started working with it as a business owner or just for yourself personally?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, I worked with it personally, and
Okay.
because I became so obsessed with it, I started a Facebook group and I just started to share what I was uncovering, and a lot of people joined that, and I started a membership, and then eventually what I was doing didn't continue with me, and I ended up finishing that business and going full force into Gene Keys and human design. And the other business I had was branding, web design, and logo design. So I had a graphic design and web design background. And so because I had that, it was super easy for me to start my own business because I didn't need to hire anybody to do anything for me. I'm very techy. I just got all that stuff out of the way, and then I could just teach and share and put the things out there. And
Wow.
as I was digging into the Gene Keys, and that's where I started, is Gene Keys. I went really
Okay.
deep in Gene Keys.
Okay.
It's sometimes hard to go with both of them at the same time because there's so much information that you have to learn and so much terminology. I ended up circling back to get that human design. But around 2017 was when I was introduced to 2016, 2017. And around 2020 is when I started to bring through my own kind of iteration, translation of the work. I was really fascinated by both these systems, but I was confused why they weren't together, because like a human design gate is the same as a gene key. It's just translated
Okay.
differently.
Okay.
So that I wanted a place that I could go where I didn't need to go to this website to look up that information and that website to look up that information. I wanted a website, a hub, a library that put it all together. And that was my vision in 2018 or so, when I was really deep into the studies of it. And eventually I found some people who wanted to do the same thing. And I created the website, I collaborated with a few people, and we brought together the 64 doors, which bridged the gap between Gene Keys and human design. And that was kind of my magnum opus moment where I was like, I have to do this. It was placed on
Mhm.
my heart, like I needed to do this. And as I was bringing through the doors, they started to come out archetypally, like people. We're human. We want connection. A lot of the healing we're doing is intrapersonally. Like we are working with ourselves, working with other people. And so why wouldn't we approach these 64 numbers as archetypes, like inner archetypes? Because I think the restlessness and the longing is not just to know ourselves, but to know God within us. And that was my ultimate seeking journey since I was a child. I wanted to know who God was. And I didn't find him in the Catholic Church. Actually, there's a lot of harm that happens in different religious organizations when they become too dogmatic. So in knowing myself, I started to know the creator within me. And I started to feel like I was being creative because of creator. And it felt divinely guided. And now I know even more so, like, we are all creators and we're here to bring something unique and beautiful out into the world because it's our birthright. It's who we are. We're here to express what's inside. And we want to we want to strip down naked so that nothing's in the way of that. And there's so much conditioning and crap on us. So,
Yeah, let's talk about that because sometimes it could feel, you said something like we want to strip everything off of us. And first of all, I just have to say, because you guys, I've been blessed and lucky enough to actually receive a Gene Keys human design reading, I don't know, maybe 3 times or 4 times from you over the years. And Ashley has this impeccable way of remembering so much about these systems. And so it's always fascinating to me because there's a lot of information, right? It's not, I don't think when you delve into this work, and we should probably touch on this, it's not meant to be memorized and all, you're not going to memorize all the 64 things right away or anything like that. It's a contemplation, right? It's where you go into this kind of, I love to call it like a spiritual technology that you go into and you get to learn. So I want to say that because I know if you're going to rush out and order this book on Amazon, you might get it and be like, what is all this? But anyways, Ashley, I love what you're saying about how this allowed you to get to know yourself at a deeper level and it unlocked your creativity. But you also mentioned it. I don't know if you said this word deconstruction. Maybe there's a little bit of unbecoming to realize who we are. Can you speak to that? Because I think that's a big piece of this work and definitely a big piece of healing.
Yeah. Well, actually, if we look at it from nature versus nurture approach, right? We come into this world with genetics, with our DNA programmed, and we're inheriting things from our lineage, our family. We are also epigenetically being programmed by society, by the culture, by the language, by everything around us. So our environment is programming us, and we're already coming pre-programmed in our DNA because of our bloodline, because of our mom and our dad. And so there's a lot of things in our DNA that's either shut off or turned on that shouldn't be turned on. And we've just got a lot of sorting through to feel into. And the deconditioning process, which is a term that is used in human design, is just about you pulling off those layers of conditioning that's not serving the self. You want to remove the not self, which is all of those shoulds and coulds and woulds that I had spoke about. You want to follow your spark. You want to follow your inner strategy, your inner authority, and let that lead you out in the world. Because whenever we gaslight ourselves or have been gaslit, we're actually disassociating or exiling and throwing these parts of ourselves, like we are dispersing ourselves all over the place because we want to be loved, we want connection, we want to fit in, we want to belong. And
Yes.
I know that in healing, right, in the healing journey, a lot, like, we want to heal in relationships, we want to heal ourselves, and we just want to have a fulfilled, happy, loving life. And no man is an island, so we are working with other people. But how much of yourself did you sacrifice to be able to be welcomed in by that other person because something in you triggered them, or something in you they didn't like, or something in you, or a friend group, or middle school? You know what middle school was like. Like, it was hard to be yourself in middle school.
I have a daughter in middle school and I'm seeing it in real time and remembering my inner child that had a very difficult time. She's doing much better than me in middle school, but yeah, that age is very challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, with these systems on the healing journey, you're just burning that all up so that you can be yourself. We got to know ourselves and know our inner mechanisms and start to feel like, yeah, that's my truth. You want to find your center, you want to find your core, and then everything else you're just weighing against that. Oh, yeah, that's not my truth. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, that resonates. So we're trying to find our baseline so that as we are interacting and approaching life, we're able to retain our center and be grounded in ourselves versus floating around and just being a chameleon and mutable. And it's good to be adaptable, but not to an extent where you're losing yourself and enmeshing. And
Mhm.
that was a big thing for me is I would chameleon, I would enmesh, I would be who somebody wanted me to be. I had to find my center to return back to the body. And actually the work that we did together helped me also access that again. And I think you used to have a podcast called Soften, right?
Mhm.
That word for me is so powerful because it's this softening, this heart opening, this relaxing into your body. And I feel like for a good part of my life, I was escaping my body. I was hanging out in my head or like out of that body. And
Yeah.
even these systems can keep you in the head and not in the body. So we really need to bring in the somatics of things and not just make this an intellectual thing. We need to
Yes.
enter back into the body, which for me, that was always going to be my journey. And I had to learn all these things and make it really mental so that I can memorize it and know it. And once my mind was secure in it, it gave the okay, let's drop in now. We could drop in now. We've created enough safety. Drop in.
What did that look like? Because I think sometimes there's this understanding of what you're saying is a lot of people can intellectualize what's happened to them in the past. They can make sense of things in their reality. But when you're talking about, I love it how you're like bringing it down and saying, okay, it's almost like I always like to think of like I'm taking an elevator from my mind
Yeah.
down into my heart or even into my belly, like really that visual kind of, okay, I'm going to leave the thinking mind and enter into the territory of the body. But I don't think everybody knows how to do that because we are so conditioned, even in our society, just to be up here. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of presence to be in our body and actually allow ourselves to feel. So how did you soften?
Yeah. Visualization and meditation. And I started to, because gene keys and human design gates were an abstract thing for me. In 2020, when they became archetypes, I was getting to know people that lived inside of me. There's 64 different aspects of me. And I get to know this piece, this part, this facet of the diamond that is me. And after I learned like what these things were, it was easy for me to just leave the information here and just be like, okay, where does this live inside of me? And then find that part. Like right now I'm feeling my solar plexus center and it's like, okay, what's here? And I can feel the 6, which I call the peacemaker. And I'll just sit here in this spot and it's like, okay, what do you want to show me? And I'm just feeling a lot of spaciousness opening up. And in my mind, I'm feeling and interpreting, okay, friction is like this tightness. But do we have to be like this and on guard and in that fight or flight all the time? Or if I know that I got me and if I sit up straight and I've got a strong spine, I can have this soft belly. So I'm not always trying to brace for impact. Who wants to hurt me? Where's the threat? I get to come in and soften, like
Mm.
soften this place. And because I get to soften this place, I can feel the flow of cool air going up to my heart. But I had to get in my body and start to. I'm feeling kind of loopy now. Getting into the, I'm like,
Yeah, okay.
what is
Yeah,
this
I
love?
gotta ground.
This love
Gotta
bomb.
ground. Get back to earth.
It feels so good. No, but like I get to go into my system and feel into what needs my support, what needs my love, what needs my understanding. Like even tuning in, I'm like, okay, I gotta go to my throat, like even after that. So just taking this journey into the body to feel into, all right, what do you want to show me? What lives here? And because I know these 64 archetypes, gene keys, human design gates, like the back of my hand, I know and can recognize them in other people, which is why I remember what's in people's charts, because if I'm with them, I'm like, oh, yep, I feel that archetype. I bet you it's in there. And they're just, it's like knowing 64 different people. I know their names, I know what they feel like, and I can interpret what they mean through my own vessel, through my own understanding. And
Wow.
that's how I've developed my skill in chart reading. And it's definitely an intuitive thing because I need to feel into the field and see, all
Mhm.
right, I could go into and tell you the minutia of details in your chart, but no, what's most alive and most present right now. And that's the approach we take. So this system
Yeah.
has developed my intuition like tenfold, because when I had to do the readings and the charts, I was relying on my intuition a lot. I had information, but something took over when I was doing, and it was like, oh, and then I would get even more detail from the person's field, from the person's energy, and it helped me be a better reader, because I could teach you what strategy and authority and what these numbers mean, but who cares if you can't adapt it and apply it to your life? Then it's just information.
Yeah. And I like what you said, what's alive for me right now? If somebody's looking, so maybe for somebody who's a beginner and just playing, or maybe they've been doing this for a while, but to simplify and just ask if they look at their chart or they're just working on
Yeah.
these things, like, what is alive for me right now? Because the present moment is always trying to work with us.
Yep. Yeah. And what's really cool, there's a couple different approaches if you've never done it before. And you can go in your chart, like a gene key chart, and you can see, oh, that number is interesting, or that word that's next to that number is interesting, and you can go in that way. You can approach it that way.
Mhm.
Or you can not even go into your charts. Like if nobody's pulled a chart right now, if I was saying to your listeners, pick a number from 1 to 64, 38. Okay, whatever it is that you guys thought
Yeah.
of. And then you go and you look up that number. And I have a free website called the64doors.com, and you can go into one of those numbers and then meet the archetype that lives there, and it's going to help you understand, okay, why is that archetype coming into my life right now? I picked the 38, which is the warrior archetype, which is all about perseverance and honor and fighting the good fights, and
Is that Aries energy? Let me guess. Is it Aries?
no, it's not Aries energy. It's Capricorn energy, but
Okay.
since Neptune is moving into Aries, or is in Aries now, it's called the spiritual warrior. And so we
Okay.
need to put on our big girl pants and do the work and be about it, not just talk about it. Like I'm a talk about healing. Like, okay, do the healing. Be healed. You're healed. You're done. Cool. Let's go. What's next? So,
Ooh, I
yeah.
love. I just saw spicy Ashley come out. You know, you're like, stop talking about the healing, and that's. I want to speak to that because you're right. There's so much I can say. Okay, the collective is about to shift and change. We're in it right now,
Mhm.
and not to overwhelm people with astrology, right? But you mentioned something so powerful is that we are moving into Neptune and Saturn being in Aries. And so Aries is that in an exalted way, oh, a spiritual warrior.
Yeah.
And so,
Especially with Neptune
yeah, with
being in.
Neptune, yeah, typically it wouldn't be. That's true. That's a good point. So when you were saying people can talk about the healing, but what do you think it looks like to actually dig into it or action it? Because that's what we're moving into. Aries wants
Yeah.
action, right? It wants forward momentum.
Yeah, and Aries is connected to the first house, the house of self. Neptune being in Pisces, Neptune is ruled by Pisces, right? And so Neptune, it's like surrender, it's dissolving, it's melting, it's enmeshment. Like sometimes trying to heal yourself in a field, like we're just healing all together. It's like there's just all this oneness and love. And sometimes what happens is spiritual bypassing happens, and it's love and light and it's love and light, but then we're not really getting into the nitty gritty of what needs to be there. And so now healing comes into the body. Like we're in Aries. This is connected to the self. This is connected to you. And so we've got to embody this healing. It's not just about love and light, which is amazing, like perspective to come from. No
Right.
judgment there. I'm just expanding it and exaggerating. Like love and light. Don't show me the shadows. Don't show me that thing. Like, no. Now we have to get into the body. Now we have to be about it. We got to do it. We've got to know ourselves. And
Mhm.
I think that there's fire here, right? We're going into the year of the fire horse too. We've got Neptune and Aries, fire. We're going into the fire horse year for the Lunar New Year. And it's just all about action, taking action. We're not going to dilly dally anymore. When you get an insight to, oh, I think I got to do this, you're going to do it. You're going to go out there.
Mhm.
You're going to get that healing. You're going to do that thing. Oh, yeah, it would be great to look at these systems and gene keys. You're going to go and get on and do that chart. You're going to pull it up. It's just easier to take action than to
Yeah.
just be so floaty around with things and dreamy.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. And another thing, we're going to stop dreaming and fantasizing about what we want to do in the world, put out in the world. We're going to actually do it. Stop dreaming
Ooh,
about things. We're going to manifest those dreams into form. It's time
that's
to do it.
that's really powerful. And I know all too well because I have Aries in the first house with Mars and Chiron. So I feel like this whole like where we're going, I'm gonna know it very up close and personal because of my specific chart. But I want to go back to something that you were talking about because I think that when you're describing taking action and all that kind of stuff, and I love how you mentioned somebody could pick an archetype to work with. And I feel like I wonder if everybody even knows what an archetype is because the way you're describing it, I love it, is these are 64 friends or like people that you would,
Yeah.
it's
Friends,
that you
inner
would,
ally.
yeah, like if you were to go to a party, you'd be like, that's so and so, that's the other person.
Yeah.
So the archetypes, how did you even come up with them? Because I know Richard Rudd created and downloaded this system, but you have your own interpretation of it.
Yeah. So, like I said, when I was moving out of it being like a mental thing, I did a lot of visualizations. I did a lot of meditation. And before I found these systems, something that was very prominent in my inner visualization was a hallway of doors, like a
Okay.
bunch of doors I could open. And it felt like the Akashic Records too, where I could go into the past, I could go into the, but when I met the 64 gene keys, and their keys, like, come on. Like gene keys. Let's unlock
Mhm.
something. That's why my business is called Unlock Your Design. I just have this big affinity for doors and keys. And it's like you're going to knock on someone's apartment door and like, hey, I want to talk to you really quick. And it's inside of yourself. You get to go and access these doors of you. I don't want to say that we're schizophrenic and having like conversations. Like, that's not it.
No,
But
no, no, no.
yeah, my heart goes out to those who are who do
Mhm.
experience that because that is a reality for them. But and I'm not making a joke out of it. So when we're created by creator, it's almost like they say sugar and spice and everything nice. Like there's a cauldron of you, and we have all these little parts and pieces that go into us. So I'm gonna throw a little 38 in there, 20 and 34 and this and that, and we're gonna put all these archetypes in, and that's gonna be mixed up, and then it becomes who you are. And so you have different personality traits. And
Mhm.
if people have heard of internal family system, it's kind of
Yes.
similar. Archetypal work
Mhm.
is let's go in and talk to our inner child. Let's go in to talk to our masculine, to our feminine. It's the same thing as that. Only now we have this field of 64 and we can go and tune into these parts and aspects because just like in internal family systems, you can have one of them driving your car. It's the one that's the leading energy. And if that one's not healed, it is wrecking all kinds of havoc on your life. And even the ones that are running the show subconsciously, those ones are really doing a little trickery and stuff there too, because you don't
Mhm.
know them. You don't know them yet. And so their patterns are going. So the more we know and we can bring ourselves into unity, wholeness, and we say, all right, guys, let's have a little pep talk. This is what we're doing. This is our purpose. Does anybody have any kind of, they don't want to do it? Okay, let's talk about it. Like, because there's
Mhm.
going to be parts of you that are like, oh, I'm scared. And there's going to be parts of you like, let's go. We don't want to trample the one that's, I'm scared, that is bracing. We want to include that one. So that's the work we do to get us all on board with what we're doing. So we're not racing forward with the fire energy that we have with Neptune and Aries and the fire horse. We don't want to just go, go, go and leave all these parts of ourselves behind. We want to bring ourselves wholly, totally forward. And so when you do that inventory, all right, before I go, does anybody have anything to say? No? We're good? Okay. And then when you're doing the thing, knowing, is someone rocking the boat? Let's make sure that that part of us is okay. So this work allows you to know yourself and work with these inner parts so they can be in harmony and
Yeah.
equilibrium and things can be flowing much easier for you instead of trampling over, exiling, shoving in a corner parts of you. That part could have the golden nugget, the key to unlock something in the future, and you just left them behind and you race forward to the end, and it's like, all right, now we've got to unlock this thing. Shoot, I don't have the key. Yeah, that's right. That archetype back there did, but you left them behind. So you have no idea how to unlock this thing. You ran forward, got there, and now you got to go all the way back to start to go get that archetype, that part of you.
I
So,
love that because it addresses what you were saying about spiritual bypassing, but it also really feels like the way that we are wholly in the now moment is to accept whatever's happening, the isness of our life. And if there's an ugly part that you don't like per se, and you want to kind of hide that or push it in the corner, it's most likely that that's the part of yourself that you're going to learn the most from and that you have to accept and bring into kind of the fold. And so I love that it addresses that, these gene keys and what you're saying, because it's so interesting to think about it from the archetype, because I always think of the shadows. Each with the gene keys, each one of them has a shadow. And I've oftentimes had difficulty with the word, like the one that I think you call the mystic, where psychosis is the shadow. Oh, like
yeah.
I have that one in my IQ, and I'm always like, well, I'm not crazy, or like, but the words they're, for those of you who are maybe going to pull up a chart, and they're not necessarily literal. They have more of meaning behind it. But I found that sometimes those shadow words would trigger me, and I'd be like, okay, I got to sit with this. I got to listen to the contemplation. I got to sit with this and learn more. And for me, it's not about bypassing that part, because it'd be easy to be like, I don't like that word. I don't like what it's saying. I remember when I learned in mine, I think it was the evolution sphere, about, can't remember what number it is, but it's about being present and all this kind of stuff. And superficial is like the shadow frequency. And I was like, superficial? What does this mean? And then I learned about it, and I was like, oh God, this is very fitting for how I've lived my life for so many years. Not so much now, but if I hadn't taken the time to get past the sticker shock of the actual word or the archetype, the archetypal names are really cool, I think, but that shadow frequency, then I would have really gone into the understanding and the magic of what can unfold when you meet those parts of yourself that you once resisted.
Yeah, I agree, because I had a similar experience with the shadows, and it wasn't like a denial of them. It was more so, we've got to extinguish these, because my IQ is the 18, which is judgment, integrity, perfection. And I spent a lot of my time in the shadows because I wanted to know them. I wanted them to not be here anymore. And I realized that's not the approach we take. Like, it's welcome, and the gift lives inside of the shadow. We have to enter the shadow we have to shift the shadow, because the shadow, the gift, and the city are present at the same time. But if you're pushing away the shadow, you're pushing away the part of you, and you're not getting the wisdom that lives in that shadow of judgment. So if we're judging something and I really don't like the way that person is behaving, you can look at that instead of this judgment of push that person away. How is that person mirroring a part of me that I can't accept? Or how is that person showing me that I live by a code, and that's not an integrity by the code that I live by? And so if the gift frequency is integrity, I'm looking at that, and I can allow them to be who they are with the behavior that they're doing, and knowing that, thank you for showing me that if I was in that situation, I wouldn't. So I'm learning more and more and more about my own integrity. How do I be in integrity? And perfection is just, it's welcome. It's welcome. It's here. You're perfect in this moment right now. You might get better and better, but perfect right now with what you have. Like, you did your best. And the more you know what is it to be in integrity, for me, the more that you can let go and not judge, because you know how to be in your center. You know what's an integrity for you. And the people that have the 18 are really good at picking out, oh, that note is off. They're going to tweak the things so that it can sound beautiful, be better, because they're correcting to improve. It's all about service and improving. The little tweak there can make a big, huge difference. And yeah, when I was speaking about it earlier, I was thinking about the 31, which I call the orator. So it's about speaking and it's about leadership. But if we don't like the shadow of arrogance, when people like they're know-it-alls, or like, you're so stupid. Why aren't you going in this direction? Like that energy of, I know it and I don't know why you don't know it. I don't know why you can't go in this direction. That kind of irks me. And because that irks me, it would be hard for me to have conviction and to be a leader. So I would leave my 31 behind because I didn't want to be or seem arrogant. But
Oh,
I
wow.
knew, because then I can't open my throat and be the leader that I'm supposed to be, because I'm so afraid of being judged as arrogant, or, oh, look at her, look at that know-it-all, look at that person trying to lead me in this way. Who are you to say that? And that's where I would leave my leadership over here. That's where I would defer leadership to other people. But I had to make peace with this arrogance and know, no, I'm not that. There's an insensitivity to leadership sometimes. I'm not going to
Yeah.
be arrogant. I need to trust myself that I can be in my conviction of, this is what's good for me, and you can decide if you want to follow me. I'm not going to say you're stupid for not. I can have compassion for whatever you choose, but in this moment, this is how I want to show up. This is the direction I want to go in. Follow me if you want, don't if you don't. And that's it. But I struggled with arrogance and I struggled with a lot of different shadows, but I had to come to center and transmute my judgment
Mhm.
of it.
Yeah. So when somebody, and I love that example that you gave because it really illustrates what it's like to have something in your chart and maybe be like, yeah, I don't want to behave like that, or I don't want somebody to think that I'm in my arrogance or psychosis or whatever it is. But what I hear you saying, and I know this is part of what Richard Rudd has spoken about, is like, isn't it allow, accept, and embrace
Yeah.
the shadows and move through that energy? Because you were saying, I think in the city, they're all multidimensionally together, right? At one time, the shadow is in the city and vice versa. So I love that. So
Mm-hmm.
when you work with people with these systems, what is some of the transformations you've been able to witness in people that have been using, whether it's the gene keys or human design? How does that look like in real life?
There's a piece of being an ease. I would like to think that because of my love of diversity and people, that when they come into my space, they feel like they can let their guard down and they can just be themselves. And we're in this inquiry and investigation of, okay, let's see what your magic is. And then people are trusting the process and starting to build this foundation together. And when we have this foundation of trust and security, and we know, okay, we're going to show up and this is the process, then they can just start letting go and softening so that we can
Mhm.
see what wants to come through them. Because as I was in these systems, what came through me was the archetypes. And people are going to have their own translation. And
Mhm.
whether they're working with these systems and they want to teach gene keys or human design, or they want to coach and do readings or whatever, that's cool. But eventually you're going to see how you do it differently. And that's what we
Mhm.
need to see is, how do I do life differently? How do I do this differently? And so that's the epiphany, is I want people to know, what is my spark of creativity and how would I like to share that with the world? So knowing yourself helps you uncover your genius so that you can share that genius with the world. So that's the transformation, is eventually this spark, this thing blooms in you, and then you can't help but just share it. It's the analogy or the metaphor of the dandelion. First, we've got to grow those roots, and we've got
Mhm.
to root into ourselves, into our foundation. We've got to know ourselves. We've got to go into the depths of who we are. And the more you go deep in yourself, the more you go up and out and reach the world, because we need to meet ourselves deeply. So you grow those roots. And then eventually, when you feel a little security, you pop a little leaf out there and you're interacting with the world. You feel the wind, the breeze, and bees flying around. You're like, oh, okay, I think I can do this. And then you start growing a little bit more until there's a flower. And now you're blooming. And now there's a smell and a scent and an essence to you. And the bees come and pollinate, and things are happening and flowing. And you're just meeting the world even more and more. And then eventually, we start to decide, I need to leave a legacy. I need to
Yes.
leave a legacy. And that's the little seeds, right? So now we start blooming these seeds. And then eventually, whew, those seeds go off and they plant and grow more. So that's my mission, is to help people root more deeply into themselves, which has been my whole process, right? Root
Mhm.
and then feel empowered enough to start to meet the world, to start to bloom and shine our light into the world, and then recognize the genius and know that's a legacy. Like, you're here to leave little breadcrumb trails for everybody else to find, so that what helped heal you, what helped you shine, they can pick up and use too. You're leaving little love notes and
Oh,
breadcrumbs on the path, and you're blazing a trail for yourself. And at the same time, you're leaving that trail for someone else to find. If you've climbed the mountain of your life, you're leaving the trailhead. So when people say, oh my God, I have to climb that mountain. Oh wait, somebody's climbed it before me. Let me just go. Right? And then they can follow up. So that's why with the 64 archetypes, what came through me, I had to make it physical. I had to make it interactive. I had to put it online because it helped me. It's a wish that I fulfilled for myself and became a wish that I fulfilled for other people. I guess we're all in the business of fulfilling wishes here. We just got to show up in the world and shine our light and share our genius, because you'll never know who needs your brand of magic.
you're so right. And I love how you described that if you take the time to develop your own root system and get to know who you are, know thyself. That was one of the biggest things I heard you say. Then you start to unlock and uncover your genius. And for some people, if they don't know what that means exactly, it's like living into your purpose. Like, what lights you up? What are your gifts? And those definitely come online. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about when I've worked with the Gene Keys. There were so many things that I didn't realize. I remember one time you said to me, Dawn, your magic lives in your body, because my life's work is, I think it's called the Panther or something. Is it
Yeah,
the
34.
Yeah,
Black
the
Panther.
34. And I remember it was so much about being in the body and trusting the intuition and the movement and all these things. And I remember hearing that, and it was just like a very simple statement. But then when I started to really let it land, it opened up something in me and helped me get to know myself better. Because just like you, my body was the last place that I would go hang out. I was very disconnected at times from my body. But what you're saying about once you do get connected to these gifts, then you can start to share them with the world. I love that, because it really is such a beautiful path to go on and to learn about who you are and use these beautiful archetypes and this system to do so. And what I love is how you've unlocked so much creativity, and your example of how for you, it was the archetypes and getting to know them. I'm curious, Ashley, for people who have a lot of skepticism about healing in general, maybe they're afraid of it, or they see these systems and are like, oh my gosh, that's just too much information. What would you suggest for them?
The first thing that came to mind was like, get over yourself. And I'm like, Ashley, this is an inside thought. But really, that was my shock face of, are you really saying that? No, we're just hiding from ourselves. If you have that strong reaction, you better go into it. If you have that strong reaction, I'd lean into that and see why. If it's neutral, cool. But if you're like, there's something there, and the ego or the parts of you, they're like, no, I still want to run the show. No, we can't let them get in here. Yeah, go into it. But I understand too, some people are more left brain or more right brain. And so if you're more right brain and creative, approach the Gene Keys first. If you're more left brain analytical, go to the human design, because that's the difference. When you bridge them together, we're balancing both of them. But if you're more logical, definitely try out the human design and get a reading, because I think that, and I'm not saying you have to get a reading with me, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying get a reading because they might share something with you and you might be like, oh wow, yeah, that is me.
Undoubtedly.
So and you're not going to lose anything by
and I think
being open-minded.
Yeah. And when someone has spent the majority of their time learning a system, and then what's so beautiful about how you pair it so deeply with your intuition, then the insights that can be gained when you work with a practitioner like yourself, to me, really accelerates the learning, the healing, because I spent a lot of time. I'm doing the Sages retreat right now that Richard Rudd is running. And I still contemplate and look at it, but it was that the readings that I've received, and I did it in specific. I remember one time just doing like kind of an overall, and then I specifically did one for my business years ago with you. I can't remember. I think it was like in 2020, 21. Oh my God, that was just life changing to see and like really understand the simplicity of owning my gifts and not overcomplicating it, but the way that you were able to lay it out for me according to all the information. And then also what I love is like the future transits and how that works. So I do agree with you that yes, you could spend so much time learning it yourself and doing some of the retreats and different things.
And we should do
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
There's many approaches to it, and nobody has to get a reading from anyone, but sometimes it's really helpful to get a different perspective. Or you can spend all the time trying to learn the system and master the language and figure out how to get into it. Or you can just hire someone to give you that snapshot for you or give you the starting off point. And what's really cool about the readings too is you can go back and listen to them and you're going to hear something completely different. So it becomes timeless because you might not have been willing to receive that nugget back then, but it's like you can come back and it's the gift that keeps on giving, you know? And I've gotten so much out of other people reading my charts too. And every time you read it, you get something different too. So it's really cool to just look at your chart and then be like, I'm going to go into this today. And then you walk with it. You can read the chapter, you can look up the archetype, but what's really cool is when you look for evidence of it in your life. That's the magic of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I want to learn Spanish, and the people that are learning in a classroom setting or are trying to do it on Duolingo or whatever it is, versus I'm going to go to Spain.
Immerse myself
in it. And you can transport yourself to the land of the 64. So if you're working with the 21, which is the shepherd, which struggles with control, authority, and valor. So what is authority? What is control? Everybody, I mean, you don't even need to have the 21 to know, yeah, we're human. We struggle with wanting to control things. So if you walk with control, you're like, all right, where am I trying to control or manage or whatever in my life? And you just look for that. And if you approach it that way, right, that's approaching it of let's find the shadow. You can find the shadow, or you can also find the gift of what am I in charge of? What am I in authority over myself? And in what ways do I have authority over myself, my being, my body, my appearance, my whatever? What does authority mean? And if you even go it one step farther, what authority am I given by the divine? And just ask for that anointing. Ask for that. What is my inheritance? What is my anointing? What am I here to have authority over? Odds are it's not over anyone else. You're not controlling anyone. You don't have authority over other people. But what is that blessing? What is that authority? What are you here to shepherd and be in control of? A shepherd has a flock. It is in charge of that sheep to make sure, right? Stay in line, let's go feed them and that. And if you're a parent or a mother or a father, you also have divine authority over your children until they come of age. So you are here shepherding them. What do you want to impart on them? How do you want to guide them, lead them? Are you leading them to water? The whole saying of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. We can't control the horse. I'm going to lead you that way. Here's what I would like to put in front of you and just see what happens. So that's the way to play with it, is invite it into your life, not just in the book.
And how long should they do that for? Like a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month?
You can just do play with it for a week, or pick earlier in the session I said pick a number from 1 to 64. All right. So now you have that number. Now you're going to go investigate what's the archetype, and you're going to look at the frequency bands for the gene keys too. The shadow, the gift, and the city. And then you say, all right, I'm going to work with you. Put that number on your altar, put it on a mirror somewhere so that you see it. And you're like, okay. And then start looking for evidence of it. And you can do that even without knowing or reading the book. You can just contemplate the little words. You can contemplate the name of the archetype or the gene key frequency bands. And then you just look for it in your life. You'll find it. We have a reticular formation in our brain that does a fantastic job at finding the evidence.
Yep.
So find the evidence. You can
Yeah.
find the shadow or you can find the magic. Go find the gift. Get on the breadcrumb trail. Okay, show me what authority is.
And that way it comes alive and then it becomes embodied because you're working
Absolutely.
with it in your day-to-day life and it's very practical. It's not just some esoteric information. So I love that. I have this question that just keeps coming to me, and I don't know why. I'm just dying to ask you this because I bet you're going to have a really fun answer. For going into the future, right? Where do you see your work or just the collective going with all of this? Because I know, isn't there something with 2027? And I know the astrology is just changing. We could do a whole nother podcast and all that stuff.
We
But I'm just
could.
so curious, like, where do you think the future of this type of work is headed?
You're so funny because your pearl and your culture sphere is
I
in gate
know.
41, which is like going into the future.
I
And
know.
you
I
do
can't help myself.
futuring. It's like,
I know.
well, okay, yeah, of course you'd have
I
to
can't
share.
help myself, Ashley. I have to know. And you know my futuring. Like, I love it so much. So, yeah.
I know. Yeah, okay. So we're heading into an age where it's going to be really important for everybody to be empowered, self-empowered, be in the body. There could be a lot of changes, a lot of experiences of, oh my gosh, the rug was ripped out from underneath my feet. Oh my gosh, this is what I used to rely on, not there anymore. Things are going to be changing. And so as they're changing, we really have to have that sense of stability and security in ourselves because the outer world is transforming and it may not give that to us. So if anybody has had reliance on a job or a particular income or like schooling or the government supporting you in any way, things might change. And we really need to allow ourselves to come back to center, not feel a victim to any of this, and unlock and find that inner freedom and that rooting. Root down into the ground. Because if you go into human design, Ra Uru will have a very bleak, cynical view of the future. Richard Rudd has a little bit more of a beautiful way of describing what's possible. But what's very important is that we're in a shift, and this shift doesn't happen every day. 400 years, we are in these cycles. One cycle's ending, another cycle is beginning. So if you're here now, you chose to be here in the shift. You're part of the shift. And so we're moving away from reliance on community things and structures and organizations that supported us, which we had an explosion of support, like in the medical field, in the education field, in the government field. Like we had innovations out the wazoo. It was beautiful. And we're taking that knowledge with us. We're not saying, oh, shut down, we're leaving it behind. But now we have to be self-empowered. Now we have to rise like the sleeping phoenix. And so what are we going to need to do? We're going to need to burn it down. We're going to need to burn down our own limitations, our own struggles, all the things that are holding us back. We've got to burn it down. And we've got to come out renewed. We've got to come out as the sleeping, awakened phoenix. We've got to rise from our own ashes. And so what I feel like is people go through different things in their life. We have our midlife crises with the Uranus opposition or the Chiron return. You're going to be thrusted into some kind of healing, and odds are you're going to experience your perfect storm or you're burning down. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah, you have to look for it. Yeah, it's just going to happen.
Yeah, don't look for it. Your mind is going to be paranoid.
Yeah.
Don't even look for it. Just know that it's for you. It's for awakening. It's for waking you up. It's for helping you come into your sovereignty, your authority. It's helping you come into your own leadership. And if we think about power, empowerment, presence, if you're super busy all over the place, oh my gosh, you are going to have more of that. But I want us all to think about there's a current, a deep, deep current of power, empowerment, peace, sovereignty. It's under the surface of the busyness. We have to learn to dip down, to dip in, to soften, to find the current that will take us, that will move us. So our presence needs to be in. You talked about superficiality, presence, self-assurance. That one's going to be a big player in 2027. So we need to learn about empowerment. We need to learn about presence and divine authority and connecting to the God spark within us. Because nothing, like everything outside of us, It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just a drama. It's just a Leela. It's just a play, and you're just a character in it. So figure out who you want to be a match for that, hold the pose, stay the course, and you're not going to be touched by the craziness. If you can be a match for the future we want to tune into, you're going to need to be the trailblazer. You're going to need to be the one that is embodying the future now versus the ones burning down because they're freaking out because they're clinging to the old. No. Just go to the future. Embody
You're
what we're
speaking my language, girl.
I know, right? So all the work that Dawn does, like, go to the future, bring a little gift back, and start to plant that seed and let it grow in you.
Yeah.
Let it grow in your heart. You're blooming. You're going to be the future being. So be the role model for all the other people that are drowning and freaking out because they're so used to what they had. But we've got to build a new future together. So
it's built on trust. I love that. It's a very empowering answer. I know you use that word empowering, but it is very much like, I think if people hear this, our listeners, it's like, you have everything inside of you. That is the one thing that those 64 archetypes, all those gifts, all those cities, all those things exist in you. And if you can trust in the journey and trust yourself, you're going to create something beautiful. So I love that. Okay. So Ashley, tell us where people can find you. I have just loved this conversation and I could go on and on because I know you have so much cool stuff that you know, but I know we have to keep it at a time. I'll have to have you come back. Where can people find you and is there anything that you want to share?
I love you and you're amazing and you need your work in the world and just know yourself. Know yourself. And you can find me at Unlock Your Design, Instagram, Facebook. I have a website, Unlock Your Design. If you want to get to know the archetypes, the 64 doors, we'll give you a sneak peek into them. I have a book on the 64 archetypes, super accessible. It's amazing. And I'll be coming out with way more stuff on the archetypes this year and in the coming years as well. So I look forward to seeing you in my space, and I'm excited to see where you go to, Dawn, because we're at this precipice and this is what people need. And we got to do the work now. We're like in the final countdown. So get all the healing that needs to be done to come into wholeness, to come into self-empowerment. They need these modalities. Everybody has a different thing that they're in resonance with. And it's just about finding it. So if you're providing the platform that says, here are these options, people can tune in and be like, I'm resonating with this. I'm leaning into this. I want to go this way. So it's beautiful to be able to have that resource. That's why I did Gene Keys Human Design, put them together. And you guys are bringing all of these together so that people have access. It's no longer this hidden thing of secret knock and, oh, let me go talk to this shaman over here and la la la. Oh yeah, don't tell my church pastor that I'm talking to you. Secret. It's not a secret anymore.
No, it's so true. And it is. Thank you for saying that because this is my heart's mission to bring this to the world and do all this stuff. And because of the different modalities I've worked with and even just what we've been talking about, everything that I've done, and I know for you too, it unlocks another piece of who we are. It's like, I think of the onion too, we're peeling off some layers. And I still do that. I'm still peeling off some layers, but I also keep thinking about what you said, the key in the door. And when you can, like the mystery door where you go to unlock it and you're like, oh, I didn't know this about myself. Look at that. This is amazing. And that's what life is all about, right? It's having it be juicy and fun and really creative. So thank you, Ashley, for coming and sharing all your beautiful gifts.